You have to be obsessed. The reality is that you can't do an entrepreneurial venture and do it in half measure. You got to put your heart, your soul, your passion, everything into it, because otherwise it won't work.
Come with me. Let's go and have a look at Eau Claire and see how they are reinventing craft distillery in one of the places where it all started in North America.
In 1914, they discovered oil in this town. It was the single biggest investment of the Rockefeller family, bigger than Texas. Turner Valley was going to be Calgary or New York. And then at the same time, we had the First World War break out. There was nothing here. So you get this male population arriving in the foothills of the Canadian Rockies, working hard, and then Prohibition hit. And so there was nothing to drink. So everything went underground. There were speakeasies hidden around the town. The road outside was called Whiskey Row. It was a pretty exciting time.
Why a distillery?
I had been visiting my sister in Oregon. I saw what was happening down there. And it struck me that, you know, of all places in the world that should have a craft distillery, it's got to be Alberta. If we're shipping our barley to Scotland to make Scotch, why aren't we keeping it at home and actually making a world-class product right here? So I came back very enthusiastic. You know, there were regulatory rules that have held back the industry for many, many years. Since Prohibition, it really made it so that it was impossible to do. So we had to sort of pioneer some regulations and pressure the government to allow us to do it. So I don't think there is a better place in the world to sort of foster entrepreneurialism and new ideas. Albertans are very accepting of new things, and they're very innovative. Even though it can sometimes be a bumpy road, it's a great place to do things because it's accepted.
This is such a wonderful facility. Where did you start? Was it back in the shed?
My background in Big Rock was, in some ways, the shed. Distilling is more complicated than beer. You're basically, you got to make a good beer first, and then you've got to distill, and there's so many flavor factors. So the first thing I did was I called my old friend Larry Kerwin, and Larry had been the brewmaster at Big Rock and was a master distiller, master brewer, with 50 years of incredible experience. I said, Larry, we got to do this. And he was retired. But to be able to distill that beer and turn it into a whiskey is almost like the end game. We've determined that if we're going to do this, we have to do it well. So we have got 2 master distillers now that have joined Larry.
It's strange for someone of my age and being female, being a distiller. It's quite exciting actually. There's not that kind of base that everyone expects. You can be a bit more creative when you're out here.
Then you get a satisfaction out of it when you hear people that really like your product and you get a positive feedback. You feel good. You're like, I made that.
There's something special about the area just before the mountains, which is where Turner Valley is. I think it creates great water. I think it's got some great barleys, and I want to go where the ingredients are the best.
Why Turner Valley?
My farm is about 15 minutes from here, and we wanted to be connected to agriculture. We felt that we needed to be part of both the history of agriculture and be close to our producers.
Having this business of Eau Claire here really rejuvenates some of that history, doesn't it?
I think it does, yeah. We've tried to weave that into a little bit of our Eau Claire story. This is a case of gin that was made in Rotterdam in 1855, and it was 2 years after they'd sent the Northwest Mounted Police to stop the whiskey trade. That book is a full collection of all of the recipes that were known in Europe at the time in the late 1700s. And it was printed once in English in 1871 in Pennsylvania, and we're lucky enough to have got a copy. Because we're craft and we're about traditional, it gives us the ability to access really what is traditional. Our true purpose is to make single malt whiskey with good Alberta barley. We are constantly producing to fill a warehouse that we have in the back. In the meantime, we're also making some great white spirits. So we have a gin called Parlor Gin. We put in some unique Alberta botanicals like Saskatoon berries and rose hips.
So you're tasting a little bit of Alberta when you're having your gin?
You are, yeah. I'm not just a little bit, a lot of it.
Most people think vodka needs to taste like nothing.
There's a history, particularly in North America, where they made vodka odorless and tasteless. Unlike its Eastern European creators, it ended up being something that was just putting alcohol in a drink. So what we've tried to do is bring back what the original vodka recipe is, where there's some flavor. It has a bit of a mouthfeel and a smoothness that you wouldn't have. It's a sipping vodka. In the spirits business, because it's been so dominated by 3 international players, it's all been about uniformity and consistency, because there truly is a terroir that comes with grain. So if I get my grain from Olds, Alberta with deep grade 1 black loam soil, it's going to taste differently than if I get it from Vulcan, Alberta, which is a dry area. And every year, that's going to be slightly different because it's going to be a wet year, a dry year. It's going to, have those flavor influences. But I revel in that because I think for our whiskey, that's very exciting that, 2017 is going to be a great year. And people every year will be thinking, oh, I wonder what the next one is going to take. Still the same recipe, but some slight variations. All right, here it is. This is
the temple.
This is the temple. This is where it all happens. This is what requires the most patience of this industry.
And the best smell.
It's a beautiful smell, isn't it? We're the only single malt distillery in the province. Every barrel will mature slightly differently. We've got new American oak, we've got new European oak, we've got old bourbon barrels, which is what most whiskey is made in. 100-year-old sherry butts from Spain. All of that goes towards creating our ultimate flavor. We're devoted to the Alberta market. One day we may look at other places, but...
So you have to come to Alberta to come and taste Eau Claire.
So far, you do. We have thousands of tourists that come through here in a summer. I think what's fun about distilling is it is going on all the time. So here they can come down and they actually see some action. Come for either a tasting, they can go through and see each step of the process, and then at the end they can have a cocktail on the patio. You can come to a place like Turner Valley and have a cocktail that would be equivalent to something you'd find in a high-end bar in New York.
So we do an ounce of our 3-point vodka. Then we do ½ an ounce of the prickly pear, 3/4 of an ounce lemon, and then 3/4 of an ounce of this lavender lemonade syrup. Just use a bar spoon to kind of mix it all up. And then you want to top with Prosecco.
There you have it.
The Valley 75.
The valley meaning Turner Valley?
Yeah.
Wow. Who's driving?
Not you anymore.
I'm not driving. It sounds to me you're a maker. What's the attraction?
I think it's incredibly satisfying to make something. We really feel like we're making a contribution. We're bringing back craft. We're mixing it up, poking a finger in the eye of the big mass producers and saying, you know what? With a few ingredients, you can actually make it have some taste.
But it's not easy, though, to be a maker.
A maker is one part. So if you think of it as a 3-legged stool, so you have to finance it, right? You have to make it, and then you have to market it. And all of those are equally important. I mean, we could have the best product in the world here, but if we don't market it properly, nobody's going to know about it. So the struggle, I guess, with an entrepreneurial business like this and being a maker is that you also have to worry about the 2 other legs of the stool. You have to be obsessed. The reality is that you can't do an entrepreneurial venture and do it in half measure. You got to put your heart, your soul, your passion, everything into it, because otherwise it won't work. Because that has to be infectious as well. If you're as a leader and an entrepreneur and you're excited about what you're doing, then all of your team are going to be that way, and eventually the market's going to be that way. But if you're going in just because you think it's a good business venture and that you're going to make a lot of money, that's not going to work, and it'll fail. I like the small business aspect of it. I like the fact that one day I'm driving the grain truck from the farm, and the next day I'm driving a team of horses, and the next day I'm at a cocktail party in downtown Calgary promoting the product. I mean, I'm like a schizophrenic, but that's part of the fun of it.
You too can become part of this journey. Come help us. Let's celebrate these businesses together. Donate to our site, www.forwardthefavor.com, and we will bring you more of these exciting programs.